G'day everyone, welcome one and all to another edition of Guvs Hero Review videos. Today we are going to be checking out another of the Season 2 heroes. Specifically, this is the review video for the 5-star legendary red heroine Pulse, the Cutting Edge Surgeon. As is with all of the Neon City heroes, Pulse is available for summons from that Neon City portal, which rolls around once every 4 weeks. She was added to the game a little bit ago now, back in November 2023, which was 2 years almost to the day from the original release of the Neon City event back in November 2021. This is SGG's ongoing strategy where they keep adding new heroes into existing portals as a way of just keeping you summoning in those portals month on month. It's something they've done forever in both Empires and Puzzles and PuzzleCombat now. So yeah, it is what it is. The portal itself, we can see the odds there. We do have a 1% chance for one of the featured heroes of the month. One of the featured legendary Neon City heroes, and a 0.6% chance for an unfeatured Neon City legendary hero. So there are 27 Season 2 heroes in total. Of that, you've got 2 of them are featured and 25 are unfeatured. So across 100 summons, if you were to do those 100 summons in this portal, you would have a 63.4% probability of getting one of the 2 featured heroes and a 45.3% probability of getting an unfeatured hero. If you drill down going after a specific hero, so if you're chasing a specific featured hero, such as Pulse is at the moment, there is a 39.4% probability across those 100 summons, but just a 2.4% probability of getting a specific unfeatured hero in those 100 summons. So not great odds if you're trying to get someone that's unfeatured at that time. Not the best odds when they are featured either, for that matter, but better than when they're unfeatured. Flipping across into my roster, and we can take a look at her artwork real quick. So here is Pulse's artwork. So she's got a lot of those combat medic sort of things going with, like the helmet with the red cross sort of sign on it. As with all doctors, she's got that lab coat kind of visual going on. She's also got what look to be 2 floating operating theater lights, but are actually the medbots or the medibots, because it's the same icon that's used for the minions she creates in battle. So just a little bit of an extra piece there. So yeah, not operating theater lights, but medibots. So yeah, go figure. I don't know what else they do, but those are medibots. So yeah, feel free to pause it if you wish, but otherwise I'm going to head back and we're going to talk about her family bonus and such next. So she is a member of the Hacker family, which means Pulse is granted an opportunity to reflect status ailments from enemy special skills back to their caster. So that gives her a plus 15, 20, 25 or 30% chance when there is 2, 3, 4 or 5 unique heroes from the Hacker family in a battle. There is also a charge generation bonus, which is the 3, 5, 8 and 13% charge generation boost for again having those same number of unique family members in battle. So note that they do have to be unique heroes. It can't be 2 copies of Pulse. It's got to be combining 2 different Hacker family members together. So such as, for example, Pulse with Bunraku or Pulse with Topaz as 2 different examples. Moving on to her personal stats, she comes in with 670 attack, 822 defense, and 1572 HP. So there is a fairly noticeable skew there going from her attack stat towards the defense and HP. Most of it is going towards, the defense stat somewhat, but there is some going towards that HP stat, a fairly sizable amount to the HP as well. So yeah, low attack, high defensive stats. She does also have a team power of 736, which is not a bad number. It's actually quite elevated. Compared to Topaz, who's the most recent / highest power hero, she comes in with 742. So yeah, Pulse is not very poorly off. She actually has quite higher power, but yeah, power is just a representation of their total base stats. So the more power they have, the more base stats they have that's distributed amongst the 3 different statistics there. So yeah, just something to note and point out anyway. Her charge speed is set to 42, which is slow speed and requires 12 tiles to charge or 6 ghosted tiles. The speed break does require only +1 at 43 speed. That will get you down to 11 tiles, and you can do that any number of different ways. So you can do that using any of the 3 red speed guns in the game. There's 2 5-star guns giving +9, which is the Chekhov SVK and the Firewing Trig. There's also a 4-star gun, which is the Tigger Happy, giving you +7. You can also get that single speed break using the 2% charge generation node at +19 on her class tree, which is really good for defensive situations because it means you can use an alternative gun on her. The double speed break needs +8, so it happens at speed 50. And again, you can obviously do that using the +9 speed gun. 9 is greater than 8, so either of the 5-star options will double break Pulse. Alternatively, you can actually get the double break with the 4-star gun, which gives you +7, as long as you've got the 2% charge generation node. So the class node is of situational relevance, I guess. Because if you're always going to be putting a +9 gun on her, then there's really no need to get the 2% node. But if you're going to use a different weapon on Pulse, such as on defense teams, then it may actually be worthwhile grabbing the 2% node to get that single break. So, or if you're using an unleveled speed gun as well, because +7 will also get you across the line. Her class is the medic class, which means that Pulse has a chance to heal all of her allies with a heal spray for 7% of their health after receiving any damage. So that damage can come from any source. It can be tiles, skills, minions, fiends, whatever. It's actually a very handy perk to have because it's free healing. The only downside is that it procs once at the end of the turn, so it doesn't actually matter how many instances of damage you take, there will only be 1 healing. She also does have to survive at the end of the turn. If she's dead, then there's no healing spray, obviously. By way of an emblem path, I'll just quickly flip across and we can take a look at what I've done. I have gone a defense HP route, or rather a HP/defense route, which is what I typically recommend doing for minion generators because it does bump up incrementally. It's not a huge amount, but it is a little bit of extra health onto the minion's HP bar. Defense is obviously the second path. I recommend this with all healers. You want to be going defense/HP or HP/defense because that's going to give them added survival, and more survival means that they are going to be around better to support your team. So you can see that's pretty much exactly what I've done here on Pulse. So at each of the turns, I've gone the route that's got a HP node. If there's a choice between the 2 sides with HP, I've gone the side with defense and HP. The only exception to that you'll notice is here in the middle split. Here I went for the defense as the percentage because ultimately the reason why I did it is because the percentage is on the wrong side, on the wrong stat here on the left. So going this route actually means I end up with like less defense HP improvement compared to going on the other side. So that's the one instance where I didn't go HP as the priority and instead went with the defense stat. And that's purely because it gives me a higher net onto my defense capability from Pulse. Otherwise, went all the way down, and as I said, I picked up the 19 node, getting me the 2% additional charge, so I can use a different gun on her for defense teams. Specifically, I use the Dark Flame Talon, which is a dodge gun. So yeah, that's the talent tree that I went with Pulse. So feel free to pause it and screenshot it if you need, but otherwise, let's dive into her special skill. So her special skill is titled Healbot Supercharge, and at level 10 skill and 40 charge speed, it will heal all allies for 420 HP. It will then summon a Healbot minion for all allies, which has 16% HP and 5% attack inherited from Pulse. That minion grants 10% charge to its owner at the end of each turn. And finally, it will cleanse all status ailments from all allies on the casting of that special skill as well. So a couple little things going on in there. I'm going to start with the healing element, and there are kind of 2 healing elements to Pulse's skill. There's the direct heal, but there's also the minion. So firstly, I'm going to compare it as a complete healing skill, so factoring both of those 2 elements into the one heal. And the way I do that is I do and on a heal per tile basis. So I take the healing that's done, multiply it by the range, in this case all allies, so 5 heroes, and then divide by the 12 tiles required to charge her skill. And we can see that Pulse of the red healers actually comes out on top. She is the best of the red healers in the game when you factor in both her direct heal as well as the minion off of her base stats. Now obviously that minion is going to get more HP if you've gone the HP route from her talent tree, but from her base stats it comes out as being a 236 HP minion, which is fairly chunky. It basically adds an extra third of health onto or makes up a third of the healing that she does in total. So yeah, Pulse is there, 273 heal per tile. Other notables on there, Jocasta is a really great healer, particularly considering her age. She still comes in at 227. And then you've got some of the more recent ones like Ruby and Roxy, and Senya is probably not that recent, but yeah, she's in there as well. So yeah, number 1 of the 8 red pseudo and direct healers in the game. If we were to knock off that minion, it does drop down to 175 heal per tile, which we are going to not really look at on this chart, but if you didn't have the minion, it would only be 175. There is no situation where you'll ever not have the minion. At the moment, I should put that clarification on there, because maybe they will add a minion blocking hero at some stage. But yeah, so if we were to expand the list, and I'm not going to show it, but if we were to look at the healers of all the elements, there are 54 pseudo and direct healers in the game across the 4 and 5 star heroes. And of all of the elements, Pulse comes in at number 2. The only one that she's behind is Venus. Venus is the greatest healing hero on a heal per tile basis, and that's mostly on the back of her speed. Actually, her speed is actually quite high. So yeah, pretty good healer. So if we were to do what I said there and eliminate the minion, so we just looked at Pulse just as a direct healing. So this is not a really relevant situation at the moment. If there is a minion blocking hero or effect that comes into the game, it will become relevant, but right now I'm just doing it for completeness sake. So we can see that Pulse, as I said, 175 heal per tile, does drop off quite a bit, but not quite as much as Booster does, who's a similar hero, a very similar hero in fact, to Pulse in terms of the skill and abilities. So 175, Booster's there, 117, Variant Pika / Doc Colton come out the top at 244, Jocasta, El Coyote 227, and so forth. There's a lot of options in there. Venus doesn't suffer quite as much, so you can see there Venus and Pulse both heal for the same amount, 420. But the big difference is the speed. Venus is 10 tiles to charge versus Pulse is 12 tiles to charge, and that's what keeps Venus at 210 versus Pulse's 175 there. So number 10 of the 16 direct healers, so healers that or heroes that do healing immediately. If we were to flip that, and instead of removing the healing, the minion component, we'll remove the heal component. So this time we're comparing Pulse as just a minion generator, and this is relevant to the Bloody Battle tournament setting where there's no healing, but minions are still permitted into those fights. So we can see on this list, Pulse comes out at number 5 of the minion makers in the game. There's 18 of them in total, and Pulse comes out at number 5 with an average minion HP per tile of 98. Now, again, all of these heroes, they're going to pick up more on those minion numbers when you give them that HP route onto their cards. But the chunkiest minions, you can see there, Ramhorn comes in the top. He's a bit of a uppy-downy hero. He can generate a lot of minions or no minions, depending on how many enemies there are with minions at the time. So I've just done it based on 5 minions, so the enemy hero has cast 5 minions, but he could also very much have 0. Nima is a surprising hero on this list with how well her minions actually stack out there. So yeah, she's there, 131. Pulse and Venus are fairly comparable there in terms of their minions' HP, but again, that speed is telling, the difference being 112 versus Pulse's 98. So a lot of other options on there. Monkey Wrench is probably the most surprising hero, I think, to a lot of players, just because excluding Ramhorn, Monkey Wrench actually has the highest HP minions in the game, and that's just because of that percentage coming in at 25%. HP compared to everyone else. So yeah, a lot of options in there. Feel free to pause that list if you want to look at it in more detail. But yeah, I will actually mention as well, while we're on this list, if you were to follow that complete path for Pulse, going only HP path, you would end up with a final HP stat of 1,873, which would make her minions have a health of 299 HP, compared to what's shown there at 236. If you were to further increase that by giving her a plus HP weapon, so there is a gun there's a vanilla one which is the Tank Bane, which gives you plus 85, but there's actually a better one which is the Dragster Kato, and that gives you plus 148. So the final maximum minion HP that you could generate for Pulse would be 323 HP. So not quite enough to overtake Monkey Wrench, but coming very, very, very close in terms of that maximum HP amount. So yeah, anyway, I'll move on from just looking at the minions and the healing and all of that stuff, because there are two other parts of her skill that we're going to have a quick look at as well. So the next part is the charge generation. So this is the bit where it says the minion adds 10% charge to its owner at the end of each turn. So the owner is the hero whose the minion card is attached to. So it's not Pulse, but Pulse will own the minions that are on her card, but you know, the owner is just whoever is attached to that minion. So it is a flat 10% charge, so it doesn't actually matter what the hero's charge speed is. They could be 42 charge speed, they could be 65. Everyone is getting a 10% increase in their charge bar. So they start or they finish the turn at 56%, it will actually go up to 66%. So the slower your hero, you actually do generate a greater amount of charge units for that 10%. So what I mean by that is if you have a 12 tiles versus an 8 tiles to charge hero, 10% of 12 tiles is 1.2, 10% of 8 tiles is 0.8. So there's a greater number of charge units on slower heroes, but everyone's getting a flat 10%. The next thing to note is that it is per minion. So if you have 3 minions active on a single hero, that hero gets a 30% charge increase at the end of that turn. Similarly, if you've got 2 minions, it's 20%. So yeah, it's per minion is that effect. The next thing to note is that it is affected by charge generation effects. So it is affected by charge generation effects. So this means it's affected by buffs like which Jocasta and Bunraku create. It's affected by family bonuses such as the Hacker family. It's affected by variant bonuses, class emblem nodes, all of the things that say charge generation. Those effects all will increase the 10%. It's not much, like you're not going to see a huge amount, but if we look at the Hacker family and we get that maximum amount, 30% of 30%, comes out as being an extra 9% charge. So not too bad in the scheme of things, I guess. The other thing that it is worth mentioning is that it's not directly affected by weapon bonuses. So there's no weapon bonus that gives added charge generation. There are there are weapons which gives a charge increase, but it still leaves them at being a flat 10% charge increase beyond, like, irrespective of their old and new speeds. A little note about the percentage itself. I've sort of said it a couple times. Pulse is very, very comparable to an older hero named Booster. If you haven't seen that video, do check it out. I'll probably put a link in the description of this video if I remember. But Booster, her minions also generate charge per minion to the owner. The change though is that Booster's minions give 6% charge, but Pulse does 10% charge per minion. So just a little bit of a difference there and an upgrade, I guess. Even though they're very comparable, Pulse is sort of like a step up at each turn. The final part of Pulse's skill is the cleanse, so it clears all status. It says it clears status ailments from all allies. So it's a nice little extra effect. I really like it when healers have a cleanse or a debuff because it adds an extra dimension to that hero. It gives them more strategic value on when you actually fire their skill and gives them another use beyond just being a healer. As it says, any ailments that are on your heroes, they're removed, except for ones that specifically say this effect cannot be cleared. So any damage over time effects, stat debuffs, charge modifiers, anything like that that's a negative effect, they're all just removed. It doesn't affect stacks though, such as the rock band passives, or as I said, any effects though that say it can't be cleared, but anything else, gone. So really nice little effect, has a lot of uses because there's so many different types of elements in the game. So overall, Pulse is an extremely good hero with a lot of uses, both in attack and defense situations as a support hero. Her chunky minions plus the direct heal have got a lot of uses and have made her quite notorious to face on defense teams, because you've also got, on top of that big healing effect and that meat shield, you've also got that charge per turn that's generating as well, because what it's allowing is for the enemy heroes to really chunk out skill damage if the minions don't get cleared quickly, and that can be as a result of not having tiles, not having skills lined up, or anything like that. On the flip side, on attack teams, the heal and the minions provide a great HP buffer while also giving you free charge to keep the battle moving, even when your board dries up. So even if you've got a board that's not moving very much, you're only getting single matches, you're getting off-color tiles, if you can get those minions to fire once, it at least allows you to sort of tick over that charge little bit by little bit, turn on turn. So yeah, I very, very, very much recommend leveling Pulse. I'd even say level 2 or 3 copies if you're so lucky as to get a couple copies of it, because she just can be useful in that war depth as well. So for Pulse's grading, I am going to give Pulse an A grade for war and raid attack situations. As I said, a lot of versatility, able to be an off-color hero or a color stack, just really great hero to bring along for attack situations. For the war machines though, I'm going to drop her down to a B grade. She doesn't really assist with war machines beyond added life, so useful but not game changing, or a war machine specialist hero, I think is probably a better way of describing that. Similarly for events, I'm going to keep her at a B thereabouts, because yes, a part of the scoring is driven by the health bonus, but minions don't actually count towards the health bonus, so it's only going to be the direct heal, which we did note she does suffer as a healer in those situations, so a B grade for eventing. Very useful for completing events though, if you're a newish player and you're not looking to compete, but I'm only keeping her at a B grade from the competition perspective as well. In a defense situation, I'm going to give her an A grade. A lot of people will have experienced Pulse on defense teams and can attest to this. She's got a natural position as either a flank or a tank hero. She's not a wing hero and is very, very much wasted there, so I highly, highly recommend against putting her in the wing. But on the tank or the flank position, she's really able to function in either of those spots almost interchangeably. In our 3 tournament settings, so we've got the Bloody Battle effect. Normally I don't grade healers in the Bloody Battle, but she does retain the minions, and so I'm going to keep giving her a grade there. So I'm going to give her a B+ for Bloody Battle attack and an A- for Bloody Battle defense. She does lose the direct heal, but as we noted, as a Minion Generator, she is still quite an effective hero in that regard as well. In the buff boosters, there's nothing really in this that makes her a buff boosting hero, so I'm going to give her an A- on attack and an A- on defense. Still a useful hero just by virtue of her skill set, but not a buff boosting hero at all. Finally, for the charge attack tournament, she does go from 42 speed up to 65 speed, which is a great speed improvement. And she also keeps generating free charge as well, which is great towards that tournament rule set as well. So I'm going to give her an A+ for both attack and defense in the charge tournament rule set. So A+ on charge tournament attack and an A+ on charge tournament defense. So overall, that comes out as being an A- for Pulse's overall attack grade and an A for her overall defense grade. Although I'm sure people would argue that those grades could actually be quite a bit higher. But that's where she sits. And that concludes the content for this review of Pulse. As always, these are just my personal thoughts and opinions on these heroes. I do love hearing your thoughts and feedback, so please do drop down to the comments section, leave me a note. I try to read and respond as much as possible. If you did enjoy the video and found it to be good, useful, helpful, and all of that sort of thing, feel free to like it, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video and all of that, but most importantly as well, share the video around, because chances are if this sort of thing good for yourself, it's also going to be useful to other people you play with as well. Thank you once again for tuning in and joining me. I do hope that I will see you again soon, but until then, good luck, stay safe, and happy gaming. Cheers! Bye!